Over the last 5 years, I've made 11 trips to Cedar Point. I've seen and learned a lot, and today I'm going to share it all. Okay, not everything. This isn't a guide telling you to pack extra clean socks and drink lots of water. It's a no-nonsense guide to winning at Cedar Point. You're coming here to ride the best coaster collection in the world, and trust me, this is one park you don't want to come in and try and wing it. This place is massive. 364 acres packed to the brim with incredible machines. I'll make this as simple as possible, and just like my last ultimate guide, I've placed hidden secrets all throughout this video. So whenever you hear this sound, you're getting a great tip. It's time to own Cedar Point. Now, unless you visit Cedar Point all the time, I recommend having 2 to 3 days at this park. Now, I know sometimes you only have a single day to visit, and that's okay, because I've structured this guide to help with both single and multiple day visits to the park. The time you arrive at Cedar Point and the gate you enter the park through can double and in some cases even triple how much you can accomplish on your visit. You ever heard the saying, if you're on time, you're late? Yeah, that's Cedar Point to a T, and you better be ready because trust me, everybody else will be. If the park officially opens at 10, you need to be here at 8, because early entry starts at 9. Getting into the park an hour early is simple. All you need is a Platinum Pass or to stay at one of Cedar Point's hotels. Either will work just fine. Okay, so you're getting in early, but the real secrets get into the back of the park before anyone. Sure, at the front you have Gatekeeper, Raptor, and Valraven, all which will operate during early entry and all get very long lines in the morning. But these lines will calm down later in the evening, unlike Steel Vengeance, Millennium Force, and Maverick. Those will continue to have a solid wait throughout the day. Okay, so get into the back of the park. There's 4 separate places you can enter Cedar Point. You have the Main Gate, Magnum XL Gate, the Valraven Gate, and Windseeker Gate. Now, unless you're staying on the property and love Wicked Twister, there's really no reason to use Windseeker's entrance first thing in the morning. And as far as Valraven's entrance goes, that's basically if you decide to take a boat to Cedar Point. And before you ask, yes, you can take a boat to Cedar Point. How awesome is that? So that leaves us with the Main Gate and Magnum XL 200 Gate. And depending on which one you enter through, it will completely change the order for how you're going to hit this coaster collection. It's impossible to know how busy the park will be before you visit, and we all know that the weather and day of the week can affect crowd levels. But another thing I always pay close attention to is the price of the fast lane passes. Lower prices are a prediction the park may not be quite as busy on that day. It's not a guarantee, but it can be a helpful tip. And if you're only planning a single day trip to the park, I'd really consider purchasing this fast lane pass, as it'll greatly increase the amount of rides you can get in during your visit. Also keep in mind, unlike many parks, Cedar Point's pretty smart and they start working the crowd through security and the ticket process early. They'll rope off at midway at Raptor for the front entrance and at the end of Top Thrill Dragster for the Magnum entrance. This is very important to you because if early entry starts at 9, as soon as that rope's drop, you're on your way. And this is why I said earlier you should try to get to the park around 8ish, because you're going to need time to get parked, get through security, get your ticket scanned, and just be there waiting and ready to go. So let's start with the Main Gate first. While it's not the preferred entrance, it is the most common, and there's a good chance you're going to have to enter from here. What you have to keep in mind is that probably 80 to 90% of the people at the Magnum Gate are going straight to Steel Vengeance. And no matter how hard you try, you're not going to beat them to it. From the front entrance to Steel Vengeance, it's exactly 1 mile. You're looking at less than half that hike from Magnum's. So your plan is simple. If early entry's at 9, then you need to be at Steel Vengeance no later than 10:05. That'll put you in line before the 10 o'clock crowds have a chance to make it. Millennium Force should be your first stop. If it's running, it'll be a walk-home. Get that ride and head down to Maverick. Since the majority of people went straight to Steel Vengeance, the lines here should be fairly short. You'll find that as the first people of the day ride Steel Vengeance, they'll either run back around for a second ride or head over to Maverick, making it entirely possible to get a second ride and in some cases even a third before heading to Steel Vengeance. If you're there by 10:05 or a little sooner, congratulations because you've beat everyone who enters at 10 to it. And many of the 9 o'clock early entry people have already ridden it and moved on to Maverick Millennium Force. You still have to wait a little bit, but it'll be worlds better than the 2 to 3 hour waits that's fast approaching from those 10 o'clock crowds. When you get off Steel Vengeance, start heading towards Magnum XL and Top Thrill Dragster. As you make your way there, either check the Cedar Point app or look up in the clouds and see if Top Thrill Dragster's running. If so, I'd recommend walking past Gemini and Magnum and heading straight to Top Thrill. While the maintenance team does a wonderful job keeping it running as much as humanly possible, at the end of the day it's launching you 420 foot in the air with 10,000 horsepower. That's not exactly a simple ride, and once you consider it goes down for wind and that you're on the edge of Lake Erie, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and get that credit as soon as you can. If all goes to plan and you're walking off Top Thrill Dragster, you need to seriously reconsider heading towards the front of the park. By now, Raptor, Valraven, and Gatekeeper will all have incredibly long lines. Corkscrew's entrance will be right across from you. It's not the best ride in the park, but if you want the credit, now's a good time to grab that. From here, head back towards Magnum and Gemini and just enjoy these two incredible rides all you want while the crowds are riding everything else you've already experienced. Okay, it's time to talk about the best entrance in the park. Cedar Point calls it the Magnum Gate, but I call it the Golden Gate. If you get into the park through this one, it's unreal how much more you can accomplish. Let's first talk about what to do after getting into the park through this entrance, and then after that I'll explain to you how to gain access through this gate. So if early entry is at 9, then you really need to keep track of the time because your goal is to complete what I'm about to show you by 10:05, so you can be standing in line for Top Thrill Dragster. As soon as that rope's dropped, you need to immediately head to Steel Vengeance. You'll be one of the first trains of the day. Right after getting that credit, head straight to Maverick. Once again, basically a zero wait. Get that ride and then head straight towards Millennium Force. 3 train operations and a separate loading and unloading station will make this another quick wait. It's very important to check the time at this point. As you make your way to Top Thrill Dragster, you're going to pass Valraven. On multiple visits to the park, I've had time to also get a ride on this before heading to Top Thrill. Remember, your goal is to be in line for Top Thrill by 10:05. Once again, keep an eye out to see if it's testing. You can see it and hear it from basically anywhere in the park. If it's down and not operating, you have the option of getting on Raptor or to get some extra rides on Millennium Force. After that, your plan should stay the same, making your way to Corkscrew, Magnum, and Gemini. One very important thing to note is that Steel Vengeance only operates during early entry on Saturdays and Sunday. So if you went to the main entrance on a Monday through Friday, your plan should basically remain the same since you planned on arriving at Vengeance at 10:05. But if you went through Magnum's gate Monday to Friday, then just start with Maverick instead of Vengeance and follow that plan the same. You'll just need to make the decision of going to either Steel Vengeance or Top Thrill Dragster at 10:05. Earlier we talked about getting into the park an hour early with a Platinum Pass or by staying at a Cedar Point property. But did you know if you have a Gold Pass, you can still enter the park 30 minutes before it opens for Golden Entry? It's important to note that you'll have to use the front entrance and only these rides will be available for you to enjoy. At the entrance of these rides, they'll check to see which pass you have, so personally I would just put a big focus on these 3. Okay, so how do you get to that Golden Gate I've been talking about? Well, according to a blog post on the official website posted on March 18, 2021, you'll have to stay at a Cedar Point Resorts property. Now I know for certain that includes the Hotel Breakers, and while I can't confirm right now, I would imagine it also includes Lighthouse Point. But if you're staying at the Express Hotel, you'll have to enter the park through the main gate. So for the sake of this video, let's just say you're staying at the Hotel Breakers. Even if you're a Platinum Pass holder, you'll have to pick up an early entry pass at the front desk before heading to the Magnum entrance. Remember, all Platinum Pass holders get early entry, just not through the Magnum gate unless you're staying at a Cedar Point Resorts property. It's so wild to me how I travel so far from home just so I can be in this park surrounded by some of the best machines on the planet. Yet one of my favorite things to do when I visit Cedar Point is leave the park and walk over to the boat docks. There's a store on the water and they have hands down the coldest drinks on the peninsula. It's just so peaceful sitting down at that table and chairs out front and watching Cedar Point operate from a distance. Okay, so back to Hotel Breakers. Trust me when I tell you this, staying at the Breakers is so much more than just a convenient place to rest your head. It'll completely transform your trip. I don't care if you live 3,000 miles away or just 15 minutes from this park. Everyone should stay here at least once. And you gotta remember, traveling to theme parks and staying in hotels is kinda what I do. This place is by far the most special of all the places I've ever stayed at. Let me explain. For starters, we already talked about how massive this park is. 364 acres to be exact. Days at Cedar Point can be long, and just having the option to exit the park at both Windseeker and Magnum and being within a minute's walk of your hotel is pretty sweet. It's so nice having the option to quickly run to your room and cool off or just relax for a few. Not to mention this place has a Starbucks and several restaurants. And from my experience, the lines are always pretty minimal during park hours. It's great being able to sit down and eat right on the edge of Lake Erie. This place is packed with pools to enjoy and fun things to do. At night, the beach comes to life, especially during the summer. Cedar Point's all lit up, they shoot fireworks, the fire pits are going, you can grab a drink, it's just a great time until midnight. And after spending all day in this park and enjoying the beach and fireworks up until midnight, there's just something special about waking up early the next morning and watching the sun come up before another fun-packed day. In part 1 of this Cedar Point Ultimate Guide, I really wanted to put a big focus on the different ways to enter the park and maximizing early entry for both gold and platinum passes. I truly believe that winning early in the day is the key to Cedar Point. With that being said, we still have so much to talk about in part 2 of this Ultimate Guide. So much, in fact, I just knew I needed to put out part 1 and get these early entry details out the way first, because part 2 is going to be massive. And for anyone that may be new to my channel, here's a quick clip from my Cedar Point documentary I released a few months back. Thanks so much for watching. They placed their order for the tallest and fastest impulse coaster in the world. But this, however, was just a distraction. You see, they had already started construction on a secret project that would prove to be the boldest move and the biggest gamble in the park's history. Well before Wicked Twister would open to the public, the park had already poured the footers for their secret coaster, and they covered them up to hide them before the 2002 season kicked off. With everyone running to Millennium Force and Wicked Twister, it really helped to hide what was in store for the 2003 season. I don't care how many roller coasters you've rode and how much you love them. Getting in line for the very first time on Top Thrill Dragster almost certainly made you question what you were about to do. I mean, if it wasn't enough you were about to be launched from zero to